Hello there, this is Big Bro, and as you can see, there's no little bro, because today we are starting with our very own Big Bro exclusives. These will be videos where I focus on things I like to watch, I like to break down or preview. And today we'll be starting with UFC 306 and the Canelo versus Belanga fight this weekend. Now, when it comes to these previews, I'll literally just be breaking down the fights I'm most excited for, the fights that I feel are going to be the most interesting, as well as try to see or try to divulge where I think these fights could end up going, how they could end up going, as well as how I feel each of the fighters I'm going to be talking about should or should not be fighting in order to win this fight. Granted, I am not a pro fighter. I am not even an amateur fighter. I'm just a guy who loves watching fights. I love combat sports. I love boxing. I love wrestling. I love jiu-jitsu. I love MMA. And I just love talking about them. So I decided, how about I do, for the first time, a preview. And starting off, we'll be previewing UFC 306, Sean O'Malley, or Sugar Sean O'Malley, versus Merab the Machine Dvalishvili. I hope I said that right. I really do. Now, starting with the Sugar Sean and Merab fight, this one is very interesting because for the first time, I'm actually thinking that Sean might win this fight. In all of Sean's previous fights, I'm not gonna say I was rooting against him, but I was literally saying that I don't think he's gonna win. Granted, his last fight against Cheetah, that actually changed my tune about him because I truly believe like maybe Cheetah had his number and knew how to beat him. And I felt that because like Cheeto's known for his like vibranium chin, he's not gonna get knocked out. I wanted to see how Sugar's gonna react to that, and he reacted astoundingly, in my opinion. Like he truly changed my mind and truly made me understand why he's such a great fighter. Cause like it's not just his great striking, it's not just his great feints and all that, but it's also he's super smart actually. I underestimated his IQ in that fight. I thought that Cheeto was gonna be able to thwart any of the things that Sugar might have tried to use against him, but he didn't. He excelled beyond what I thought he could, and that's always the best. Like it's always the best. It's always best when you get that realization and you get that proper appreciation for the fight. Because for a while there, I was one of the people who were like, I think Sean is overrated, but he changed my mind because as he built up, like from the Piotr fight to the Aljamain fight to the Cheeto fight, he showed me different levels to his game and how he actually wins fights. And that's always the best way to truly like gain appreciation for a fight, when they show you what they can do. But this is a different test when you talk about Merab, because Merab is, as his nickname says, a machine. Like he freaking went for 50 takedowns against Piotr Jan in their fight, and that was crazy for me. Cause like, who does that? Who continuously does something like that and basically mentally breaks down a fighter like that? I mean, that's crazy in my opinion. But this is the first time where I'm like, really, I'm not sure. Like before I started, I did a breakdown last night, and I started watching. Sugar's last fight as well as Merab's last fight, and also getting some critical information from Luke Thomas as well as MMA on Point. If you truly love MMA and truly want to understand MMA and truly want to gain some information or want to get a better understanding of the sport, those are the two guys or the two channels I believe you should go to. Luke Thomas' channel, as well as MMA on Point, because those are the two channels that truly made me understand and truly appreciate the sport. But nevertheless, let's get down to the breaking down of the main event of the UFC 306, and let's get to it. I'm gonna just pull up some of their stats and what I found interesting and what I feel will be pivotal in their fights. And I'll be starting with the champ, Sugar Sean. Geez, the odds for this fight is minus 118 for the favorite, which seems to be Sugar, and underdog, slight underdog, Merab. So it's basically a pick and fight, which I think it should be, because I can see how Sugar wins, but I can also see how Merab wins. Nevertheless, let's get to it. So Sugar Sean's record is, he has 12 wins by knockout. 9 of those wins are by first round finish. His record overall is 18-1, 18 wins, 1 loss, and that 1 loss was to Cheeto. His last fight was against Cheeto, as I stated before, and that was basically not perfect. But let's get to his stats. Okay, starting with his striking accuracy. Jeez, he's actually very good. So throughout his UFC career, he's landed 991 strikes, and he's attempted 1,601 strikes, giving him a ratio of 62% when it comes to how much he throws and how much he lands. He's landed like 62%. That's pretty high for any fight, especially for a striker like Sugar. And when it comes to his takedown accuracy, he's not a wrestler type. He doesn't shoot takedowns or doesn't like go for submissions that much. So it shows in his stats in that part where he's attempted only like 7 takedowns and he's landed 3 of them. So that gives him a 43% percentage on that. But what really baffles me, what really shocked me was the amount of strikes he lands per minute and how much he absorbs per minute. So if this guy lands 7.63 strikes per minute, that's insane. Like that's really insane, especially because like against top level fighters. Even though I'm not gonna like flat out say that he's fought the best of the best of the best every time. He's fought as of right now. He's been fighting the best from Piotr, like I said, to Aljo, to who was the former champion, to Cheeto. So that's that's crazy, actually. That's super crazy. Like that's like it's always way more important for me like how much a fighter gets hit compared to how much he throws, because you always see fighters who throw a lot but also get hit crazy amounts. But these numbers show that he's defensively super sound. So as much as he's making sure he's hitting fighters, he's making sure he's not getting hit. Like a boxer with the art of boxing is hitting, not getting hit, and he hits. And most of the time, he's not getting hit when he does that. When it comes to his significant strike defense, it's 62%. When it comes to his takedown defense, it's 63%. Okay, that's actually good. Against a guy like Merab, you want to have some very good takedown defense. When it comes to his knockdown averages I'm assuming this means or this is throughout his UFC career. It says 0.92, so I'm just gonna round that up to like one knockdown probably per fight. And considering his last few fights, the only person he hasn't knocked down, I think, is probably Cheeto. And Cheeto ate like one of the biggest knees I ever seen thrown on someone and not budged. He got hurt, but he didn't get dropped, wobbled, or anything crazy where you thought Cheeto was done. That just says a lot about Cheeto's chin. But another thing that shocked me was that his average fight time is actually 10 minutes. So he averages around 10 minutes of cage time when he's in a fight, which is, considering like the knockouts he gets, I thought that would be lower. But interesting. Now to another part that's interesting for me is how a fighter distributes his attacks. So with him, I want to say you can say he's a headhunter, because 94% of his shots are to no, excuse me. 94% of his shots are from the standing position, because he is a kickboxer style fighter, and only 2% of those are from the clinch, and only 4% are from the ground. He hardly ever gets fighters on the ground like that. That's actually very impressive, though. When it comes to his targeting, though, most of the time he's targeting 70% of the time to the head, 20% of the time, or 21% actually, to the body, and only 9% to the legs. I think the body and the leg part will play a big part in this. Just to try and slow down Merab, because at the end of the day, he is a cardio machine. So you always want to, when you're fighting a guy with that type of cardio, you always want to try to slow them down any way you can. So you might see him targeting the body more, you might see him targeting the legs more, just so he gets Merab thinking that, damn, okay, he's hitting my legs now, what should I do? Damn, he's hitting my body now, what should I do? So it's always better to vary up your targeting, especially when you're fighting a wrestler who's going to come at you constantly. You want them coming at you hesitantly. So I think, or even slower than he will from the first round. So I think that might play a big part. When it comes to his win methods, 67% of the time is by KO or TKO. 28% of the time it's by decision, and only 6% of the time it's by sub. Not surprising, because Sean is not the type of guy to be trying to get you on the ground. Not the type of guy to be trying to get a decision or submission. He's trying to knock you out. And if you've watched Suga fight, you understand that. Nevertheless, let's get to, as I said earlier, he has 12 wins by knockout, 9 wins by first round finish. And that's basically it when it comes to his stats on that point. But Mm, yeah, man. His last three fights have been against, as I said, Vera, Sterling, and Jan. And his last two fights, he won decisively. The Aljo one was a bit wonky in how it stopped, but at the end of the day, I felt it was an appropriate stoppage because, yeah, Sterling he did look like he was there, but he did get face planted. Like he when Sugar landed that right hand, Aljo fell face first, and even though he was scrambling, I don't think he was all the way 100% there. And I'm hoping Merab took a lot from that fight because that might end up being a blessing for Merab, just so he could a blessing for Merab, but a curse for Sterling since he lost the title. But I think it'll be a blessing for Merab in the sense that he could see what Sterling was doing wrong in that fight, what caused them to get knocked out. And hopefully from seeing that, he'll say, okay, I should not be doing that. I should not move like that. I should not just come into range or come into the void like DJ or the GOAT, one of the GOATs. Demetrius Johnson would call it, the void being the space between, the outside and the inside. So, yeah, that would be very important for him. That would be a very important aspect to watch when it comes to that. But now, let's get to Merab and see what his stats say about him. Let's get to that part. So Merab has a record of 17 wins and 4 losses. He's on a 10-fight win streak, which is crazy, actually. He has only 3 wins by knockout and 1 win by submission. Okay. His last fight was against Henry Cejudo, Olympic champion, double champ. In his words, the greatest combat athlete of all time. That's his words, not mine. Nevertheless, let's get to some of the more interesting parts for me. Okay, so when it comes to the amount of strikes he's landed in his UFC career, it's 829 compared to the amount of strikes he's attempted, which is 1,995. It's a lot of strikes attempted. That gives him over a percentage of 42% of his strikes landed, which is for a guy who's mostly a grappler. I'm assuming that most of those strikes have come from like ground and pound or on the ground or in the clinch or something like that. But Merab does have his own wild, crazy style of stand-up fighting where he's not the technical wizard you would view Sugar as, but he is a fighter who brings his own intense, intense pressure when it comes to the striking. Most of the time when he's using his striking, he's trying to get into range so he can get that takedown most of the time. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that most of his striking will probably be on the ground. That's why he has so much. But also he is on a 10-fight win streak, so he maybe has a longer, not say longer stretch in the UFC, but something akin to that. When it comes to takedowns, so he's attempted 215 takedowns, and he's what is this? Same only okay. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure how accurate that is. Takedowns landed is 17. I don't know what they mean about that. Which rounds it off to a 37% takedown percentage. I don't know what they mean by that. I truly don't. I have to check that out again. But when it comes to his striking, so when it comes to his the amount of strikes he lands about 4.5%, not percent, but 4.5 strikes per minute, and he absorbs only 2.37, which is actually low. That's very low, actually. I like it when a fighter has, like I said before, Sean, a low amount of punch or strikes absorbed and a high amount of strikes landed. But I think with Merab, what plays a big role in that is the fact that most of the guys he's fighting is taking down and grounding and pounding them. Pause. But when it comes to his takedown average per 15 minutes, like this is insane. He lands on average 6.43 takedowns per 15 minutes. So per 3-round fight, let's say for 3-round fight, you'll assume he's gonna land at least 6 takedowns. Damn, that's a lot of takedowns in my opinion. Like crikey. Like I don't even know who else you could compare to that in the UFC. I mean, 6 takedowns, that's intense. That's super intense actually. When it comes to submissions though, per 15 minutes, it's only 0.33%. So that's actually very similar to Sean's. I think his was 0.32. So it shows that Merab isn't the type of guy who's going to be attacking for submission and stuff like that. He's most likely trying to get you down to hurt you in the sense of pounding your face in. So I think we can see then how so far we can see how this fight might go, where we can see Merab probably trying to take him down, take Sugar down and keep him there and pound on him just so he can get just so he can get some damage, some control time, as well as sway the judges to his side more. When it comes to his significant strike defense, it's only 57%, not bad actually. When it comes to his takedown defense, it's 81%, which is actually pretty high, actually, very high. Knockdown average, like this is super, super low, 0.08. That's not like, oh my gosh, that's super low. So he doesn't have like knockout crazy power or anything like that. Average fight time is 15 minutes and 22 seconds. That's a lot. So most likely, if you think about this fight, most likely will, if Merab wins, it makes you think that he might win in a decision, or maybe he might TKO Sean on the ground. But I don't see that happening that much. I don't see that happening. That's my opinion. When it comes to how Merab strikes most of the time, it's usually, so when it comes to the standing, 60%. When it comes to the clinch, it's only 14%. When it comes to the ground, it's 25%. Okay, so he actually strikes on his feet more than I thought he did. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. But I doubt like he'd want to stand on the feet with a guy like Sean for that long anyway. So I think that'll play a big part actually. That'll play a big part in that. Let's go to how he distributes his striking that much. So 64% of his punches are to the head. 18% of his punches are to the body, and another 18% are to the leg. Okay, so he's, like I said before, because he's on the ground more, I think his strikes are to the head in that sense, because he's trying to get that damage on the ground. So he's most likely gonna target the head when he's on the ground instead of the body and stuff like that. When it comes to his win method, like I said before, 18%, I didn't say this before actually, 18% of his wins have come by KO, TKO, that's pretty low. 76% of them are by decision, so that also pushes me in my decision, in my thought processing, that he most likely, if he wins, will be by decision, and only 6% have been by submission, so that's pretty low. He doesn't like go for submissions like I don't know, like Aljo would, So that's interesting. That's interesting. This is an interesting fight. The more I read into it, so his last three fights have been G's. His last three fights have been all against former champions. His last fight was against Henry Cejudo. He won that by decision. His last fight before that was against Peter Yan, and before that was against Jose Aldo. Another great right there. So, okay, so I'm gonna give some things that I think might be key in this fight for him. So for both fighters actually, or pointers that I saw with the help of obviously, like I said before, Luke Thomas as well as MMA on Point. Truly watch those guys those channels breakdowns, because they are truly helpful if you're a betting person, there's a person who likes getting a better understanding of the fight before the fight and how each of the fighters could win that fight. I think you should watch those guys, because they are chef's kiss when it comes to giving you how these fighters are gonna try and move, fight, and overcome that fight. So starting in with Sugar Sean's pointers. So what I learned yesterday watching the breakdowns as well as watching his fights from Sugar Sean is that he actually has good single leg defense, meaning that he's able to stifle a lot of attempts from people trying to get a single leg takedown off him. So he's very good at, his balance helps him, I guess, and his height in a way, in that he keeps his balance well and he's able to defend and push these guys off him most of the time. But one thing I think that Merab will have to maybe, actually, let me just finish on Sugar's side. Another thing that I think will be also key for him is that he will have to fight Merab's control as well as his grips, because from what I heard from Luke Thomas, that Merab has Sugar, like when he's taken down, one of the things he likes to attack or try to the things he likes to attack to try to get himself back up are the hands. He likes to make sure that they don't have a proper grip around him, so they can't hold him down for long, which is smart because he is a stand-up fighter, so you always want to get back up to his feet to do what he does best, which is knocking people out. Another thing that I feel will be super important for him in this fight is doing what he did against Aljo, was keeping Aljamain on the back foot. That first round was shocking watching it back, because Aljo ended up being like on the back foot a bit longer than I assumed he would be on the back foot more, so he wasn't able to dictate or gain in or get the range as well as I thought he could have to get the grappling aspect better, or to get into the grappling part of his game better. So I think, yeah, him keeping Merab on the back foot with his striking is going to be a very key part of that, or of him winning. Another thing I feel will be super, super key is just overriding Merab's mind with feints or strikes so that he ends up doing what Aljo did, which cost him the fight, was enter the void or the space recklessly. Make him shoot for a takedown from further than is optimal for him. You know, make him do something like Aldo did. He came in like I think he threw a jab or a cross, but he was far, far, far from the range that would have helped him gain the takedown better. And Sugar made him pay for that, and that was actually beautiful. How he did that was beautiful from Sugar. So that's one of the things that made me like truly appreciate his game. Another thing that I feel is underrated about Sugar is that I feel because we haven't seen him use it that much, his jiu-jitsu will be a very important aspect of this fight. Keeping Merab uncomfortable on the ground when he's trying to ground and pound, when he's trying to control him. Don't just let Merab feel comfortable enough to he can throw strikes, he can do what he wants with Sean. He should try and throw up submission attempts, throw up anything to make Merab not as what's the word I'm looking for? Not as comfortable, you could say, in the ground, on the ground with him. So I think the BJJ will be a very, very important part of this. Another thing that I saw in the Pyongyang fight, I feel that this is just the fault of the refs not enforcing this as much, but I think he will have to be a bit dirty, meaning that he'll have to do some fence grab at the end there. He'll have to grab or hook Merab's gloves just to make it a bit harder for Merab to get the takedowns he wants. Cause UFC refs aren't enforcing the rules as much as you want them to make the fight as level a playing field as you want in the cage. Cause stuff like that actually plays a huge, huge role. Like I saw there was one point in the Pure Yan fight where Yan was he was trying to pull him this way and Sean blatantly grabbed it and Jason Herzog was a ref. He warned him about it, but I feel like at a certain point you have to start deducting points. You have to deduct points because especially in a championship fight like this where a man like Merab, it's super critical for him to get the takedown and to ground and pound. So I think that'll play a huge part, a huge, huge part. Nothing I'm skeptical about though is Sugar's gas tank when it comes to dealing with someone who's gonna put that pressure on him in the wrestling aspect. Because we saw with Cheeto that when he's striking, because I feel like he's comfortable in the striking department, he didn't seem like he was tired that much. It felt like from round 1 to round 5, he kind of had the same pace in the sense that he knew what he wanted to do, he was comfortable. But I feel like the very, very important part for Merab, for him to win this fight, will have to be putting that pace on and make Sugar tired in the first 3 rounds. So in the 4th round and 5th round, at this point, it should be hard for Sugar to get Merab off him because as much as Cheeto tried to push the pace in their fight, he wasn't doing anything that was making Sugar too uncomfortable. And what always affects you more is when you're mentally tired in the fight because someone is doing things that you're not comfortable with. So I feel like Merab wrestling and wrestling heavy will play a part in him winning the fight, of course, but it will also play a part in maybe mentally breaking down Sean a bit, and that will maybe make him less not hesitant, but more susceptible to getting tired, more susceptible to being overwhelmed by Merab's grappling. Switching over to Merab's pointers, what I thought Merab should be doing a bit to win the fight. I think he cannot play the range game with a fighter or a striker like Sugar, because Sugar is that guy. When it comes to his striking, he's like damn near top of the top of the food chain in the striking department. But even though he's top of the top, doesn't mean he's perfect. So the one place I think Merab might, if he's going to use his striking, he can't be on the outside. He has to be in the pocket. If he's going to use his striking, he has to use his striking in the pocket, because I've seen Sugar not get wobble or anything, but I've seen Sugar get hurt or hit with shots in the pocket when he's trying to either retreat, when he's trying to do get set for a counter. So I think it'll be super important for Merab to throw most of his combination punches from the pocket and keep Sugar off his base and never set for any of his counter power shots. Because when he's set, that's when he's deadly. Also, I feel like it's super important for him. But anyway, I feel it's super important for him to catch any and all kicks that Sugar throws at him. Because if Sugar's gonna be trying to like keep Merab at bay, he's gonna be using all the lengthy tools he has. That means the jab, and means the teep kick, that means the leg kicks, keeping him worried, keeping him thinking that where are these kicks coming from. But what I think Merab should do with that is that any time that the Sugar throws a kick that Merab can catch, grab that ish, and don't let go of him. That leaves that like he has to keep Sugar off balance at all times in this fight. I feel he can make Sugar feel comfortable with his striking. He can make Sugar feel that he's in the zone. Basically, he has to keep making Sugar feel like, damn, this guy is on me. He's not getting off me. Another thing for Merab is super important. He has to get that blockade of his off the center line when striking, especially, and when shooting for takedowns. Cause we saw that knee that O'Malley landed on Chiro. I mean, that sounded like a baseball bat. That was like a bing, and I was like, how, like, and that destroyed Chiro's face. We saw him after the fight, how swollen he was. So Merab has to be defensively sound when targeting the takedowns, when striking with him. He can't be lazy at all, because any laziness, any slips, and any mistakes will be costly against a puncher like Sugar. You know, it's just facts, I think. Also, another thing that was important for Merab is to switch up the takedowns and level change to keep Sugar guessing, but also do what he always does, which is chain wrestle and not let Sugar get free from him. Make sure that when he has any limb of Sugar's, grab it and hold on. Don't let Sugar get any sort of space. Keep him under pressure. Keep him thinking that, damn, this guy's like, he's on me like monkeypox or chickenpox. He won't go away. So you need to keep him you have to keep Sugar in your fight, which is close in the grappling aspect and grinding constantly, making him mentally tired, physically tired, and not up to standard when it comes to how he wants to fight, you know. Another thing I feel will be super important for Merab is to demoralize Sugar on the ground with relentless takedowns and ground and pound damage. Merab should use his gas tank to sap Sugar. Like, once again, meaning that everything he does on the ground should be done with the purpose of not only damaging but also controlling, also sapping him of his mental fortitude, sapping him of that spirit, in a sense, or that spirit of, I can get back up from this. Keep taking him down to the point where it's like, damn, this guy took me down again. Damn, you're taking me down again, constantly. To the point where Sean is like kind of relaxing on the ground and waiting for the round to end almost so that he can get back on the feet. Because at the end of the day, the fight's always starting at the feet. Now, those are the few things that I felt that each of those fighters should keep in mind, or people, because those fighters have their own coaches, they're astounding coaches that, like Tim Walsh on Sugar side, he's a great coach. Like, he's super insightful. I highly recommend watching his videos too on YouTube. Tim Walsh, I think that's what it's called too, on YouTube. He's like a great he's a great coach. Like, one of the things that I heard he was doing in the Aljo fight, he was shouting out calls for Aljo so that he makes mistakes that will lead to Sugar knocking him out, and that's what happened in a sense. So the coaches on both sides are going to play a big part in this fight because, of course, they train the fighters, but also how the fighters react to the coaches. That will also play a big part. Now, getting to the saucy bits, my predictions. I don't usually like to do predictions, especially in MMA, because MMA is a fickle, crazy, chaotic sport where you think one thing's going to happen, the other thing happens. I'm not sure in this one. Like, this is truly a pick and fight for me. I can see ways for Sugar to win by knocking him out, keep him at the distance, just styling on him in a sense on the feet, but I can also see how Merab wins this fight, where he's basically shuts down anything that doesn't shut down him completely, but he makes sure that Sugar doesn't have any breathing space to do what he loves to do, which is striking. In all of Sugar's past fights, I've picked against him and he's won. Like, the one fight he did lose, in my opinion, was against Peter Yan, and I said Peter's gonna kick his ass, but and he didn't do that. Sugar. That's not a brawl, close to a brawl, but not. So I feel like that. I feel like that fight should be evidence enough for me to say I feel Merab could eke out a decision. But I also feel like Suga could do something phenomenal and just knock out Merab because Merab is showing that he gets reckless in the striking department. So either or, like I can see both guys winning. I'm gonna lean slightly to Merab, but I won't be shocked if Suga wins. And either or, I won't be surprised if Merab wins. I won't be surprised if Suga wins. But if either of those fighters win, I won't be shocked at the end of the day. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this Big Bro exclusive. I will be doing another breakdown on the other fights of this, and I hope you come and you find to enjoy these Big Bro exclusives a bit more because I feel like I want to do this more often. And I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Please, not reaction, preview actually. Please like, share, and subscribe, and you know what to do. You know what to do. Keep coming back for more. Adios.